All right, we're ranking all the males in JWE3 because our last park build is Dead in the Water. We've got 5 tiers. Hot Dad Homer Simpson shared custody shows up for the birthday and left to go get cigarettes. So we'll start with Acro. We're just going to go alphabetically here. We'll do the dinosaurs, then we'll do the aquatics and marines at the end. And this is going to be my gut feelings, I guess. This is fairly impromptu. Now, part of this is going to be in comparison to the females too. So this is kind of also like a tier list reviewing the dimorphism as well. It's kind of all part of the same thing, right? I think the male pattern here is an improvement. I like especially the leg stripes. I think the thigh striping there is good. But it's not like revolutionary, right? Kind of just like a good, simple linear improvement. It's like a good tiger stripe palette for an acro. I'm feeling Homer Simpson tier. This is pretty good. This is definitely not tippy top tier, but this is solid. Is there any silhouette difference? No. See, missed opportunity to not give this more of a raised spine. I feel. I don't know if I feel like that should be a point against it. That like it kind of has an obvious thing they could do for the male that they didn't do. Let's leave it there for now. All right. Next animal, Albertosaurus. Yeah, this is not much of anything. I would say the pattern. Yeah, we could do the exact same to like compare, but it also bugs out, so it's hard to like switch between them consistently. But yeah, like this is Gambia Calco on both, for example. I don't know. The Acro or the Alberto pattern never did anything for me really traditionally, and this new one is also pretty weak, I think. No like interesting dimorphism with like the head crests. Like this could have been an interesting opportunity to really dial back the head crests on the female, and they didn't do it. So like points off, I think. I said with the acro we weren't going to give it points off, but that's because the acro looks good. And I think this doesn't. This is going, I'm going to put this in shows up for birthday tier for now. This may drop lower. This male does nothing for me. I don't like it. Allosaurus. We're only gonna only rank the ones that have the dimorphism. So we're sticking with the default. So the Frontier Splotch Allo, where most of the Theropods pattern changes and not model changes. Good fucking question. Yeah, they went overboard on like giving ceratopsians the same dimorphism for every species, and then for like, you know, the theropods with obvious display features that they could similarly embellish, they just kind of ignored them. Like, dude, is there any difference in the head crest here? No, right? These are just identical. Why did the pattern change? Maybe I had the wrong one. Wait, why is the pattern a different color on these? Pilo. One is allegedly green, but it isn't? That's just a bug, right? Okay. Slightly reduced spines on the... Is there slightly reduced spines? No. On the male, maybe? Am I seeing things? Well, whatever physical differences there are here, it's minimal. I can appreciate some tail striping, I suppose. but it's also just kind of there on the female. Left to go get cigarettes. This sucks. It's already an animal that I really hate what they did with it for the colors. I don't hate the Battle of Big Rock Aloe. I like it actually. But I like this. I don't like any of these. These all look weird. The colors just look like he rolled in paint or something. And the male is doing nothing to fix that. You don't even have a dude, so we're going to skip you altogether. Anki. Yeah, I will generally stick with the Frontier model for Aloe still, because I really like the Frontier model for the Aloe, so that's an easy choice for me to make. Amazon Rainforest, so I like that the male has a more solid color patterning on the back here versus the female's like weird pseudo stripes in between the plates that just makes it look like the paint is rubbing off of her. But this is clear. This is clear cut. Is there any difference on the horns? Maybe the spikes on the side of the body are slightly longer. This is clear. This is clearly left to go get cigarettes as well. Garbage. Garbage. Apatosaurus. Do I need to say anything about this one? Like, he gets some little like skin sores. This is hideous. Garbage. Cigarettes tier. All right, Argyrnithomimus. Now, at least this guy's got colors on his side. Maybe let's do... Yeah, that one has a little bit more of a thing going on. Yeah, give me that. I appreciate that, like, the striping is, like, more omnipresent, I guess, in a way. Okay, I don't want to just put, like, everything in garbage tier. I think I'm going to put this guy in shows up for birthday tier. Because, like, what you don't really expect much for this, right? Like Anki, Allosaurus, these are animals that have like substantial display features that lend themselves towards making the male look like something. This guy is just a weird naked chicken. He doesn't do anything. So I can't really expect this to be much better than this, like for a naked one. So I'm going to put him there. And then Apato is just worse. So Apato is clearly in that tier. Atrocity. An animal that has grown on me over time. Now, this is the first example of, hey, it's a small theropod. Put quills on it. So he doesn't have a mohawk though. He's got like this little patch of quills. And then like the pattern weirdly more subdued than the female, which is strange. Let's look at some other ones here. Maybe some, let's do some black. Some purple and some red. So the quills do make some more sense on the Atrociraptor because the Atrociraptors do specifically echo, amongst other designs in the franchise, they echo the JP3 Raptors in terms of the design. So I'm a little more okay with the quills here. The patterning probably is worse. It's hard to say. Like this like random blue splotch looks like shit. right? But when we were looking at the white one earlier, like, that's not bad. And then this just kind of fucking sucks. Yeah, this is like, this like facial patterning, like this is like very subtle and this is very saturated, and that does feel more male coded on the female. This is a hard one to evaluate. It's a little strange. It's about all I expected for an atrocity. Just an animal I don't use that much. I'm feeling generous, which is birthday tier. Birthday tier is generous for this animal. But they did something with it. It's hard to evaluate too because it's not an animal I'm, I said I was more fond of it now than I used to be because of, like, the show, but I'm still not particularly fond of the design, right? I think we'll leave it in birthday tier. Austroraptor. There's a nice red-orange. Can throw on these. So, this guy's got a nice little turkey beard thing going on here. That's pretty good. That is the kind of display feature I expect from a bird. I feel like this could have been exaggerated even more. Like, if this beard, like, draped all the way down to, like, the level where his hands were, that would be sick. Like a turkey. Like a big, big stringy feathers coming off the neck. I would like that. But yeah, I also appreciate the feather embellishment on the head, not just being like, here's a big, crazy, like, mohawk. It's like this little, like linear ridge of feathers on the forehead. That's more unique than doing the obvious mohawk. This is definitely the best male we've seen so far. What about the tail fan? Tail fan is maybe the same size, maybe a little bit bigger. I'm not really sure. I like that the color is like on the wings and on the tail. More so with the male. Like the female has some very strong patterning, but then the male integrates more color into it. That's a hot dad tier, I think. That's one hot dad. Baryonyx. Everybody's favorite design in the franchise, of course. We got a raid from Eric the Duck on Twitch. Thank you for the raid, Eric the Duck. Our park crashed and burned, so now we're tier ranking male dinosaurs. So we're not actually park building anymore, unfortunately, but all right, so female Baryonyx, male Baryonyx. I mean, the pattern's something. It certainly does exist. I think I generally like the yellows better. Maybe we do like this. Is that? Yeah, Paparana. I don't think I can put this any higher than Left to Go Get Cigarettes, unfortunately. Baryonyx, bottom tier, male. This is... I mean, I don't hate this pattern. It's just the patterns on these also just kind of suck. No dick, no balls, and probably no butthole. Jeez. Harsh, but maybe true. I think we're taking, like, an animal with one of the most limited palettes in terms of patternings, and we're, like, technically improving it, but who cares at that point? Because, like, this is still very limited. Like, I don't know. I'm slightly tempted to put it higher because I do think this is an improvement, but it's kind of just squiggles. Brachiosaurus. We're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it in cigarette tier. Um, he's got like a little bit of striping on the shoulder and like a line on the neck. This is also just bottom tier. Bottom tier, terrible. All right, thanks for stopping by, Eric. Catch you later. Also left to go get cigarettes. Carnotaurus. Now, there's only one good color palette to use for this guy, and that is, well, one good pattern. Rana is the only pattern that doesn't look like dog shit. And if we do a Death Valley Rana male, it looks like this. And if we use the other ones, they look less bad. I like the dark on the face with this male. This one does have smaller horns on the female. Unlike the Aloe and Alberto, they actually did put dimorphism into the horns. Problem is, we never see this in the franchise. Every Carno we see is just like this. It's just bighorn Carnos, always. But I don't hate it. It's complicated. I also appreciate keeping the canonical pattern on the female, even though in the terms of like Carnotaurus, it's kind of ambiguous if this should even be the female. Because Toro is canonically a male, right? Which kind of implies that this should be the male patterning and that like this should be maybe the female Carno in the franchise, but this has never been like canonized. And this kept the big horns. Interesting. This is Homer Simpson tier. They tried. This is okay. I like the animal. This doesn't ruin it. I think it's got kind of suffers from maybe some of the same issues the franchise animals do, where there's some stuff you can say about the accuracy of these choices and like the canonicity of what they've done here for an animal that probably canonically has a male and female design already present, like, but it's not bad. Isolating her from what it should look like in the franchise, it's not bad. But it does get points off. All right, Carnotaurus, Sonoran, Rana, Sonoran, Rana. So, we no longer have an accurate female Ceratosaurus, but we never did, because this animal was completely redesigned versus what it actually looks like in JP3, where it looks like dog shit, and instead they made it look good. So I'm fully on board with this redesign. And this male fucking slaps. This is fantastic. This is hot dad tier, unambiguously. Where'd he go? There he is. Fantastic, fantastic male. I like the shape of the horn quite a lot. It's got kind of this flatter look to it instead of this very like the nose horn on the Ceratosaurus in JP3 is like every conical horn that like every animal in the franchise has, and this has more of this blade. And I really like that. I really like the way they kept the striping to echo a bit the canonical pattern, but they like took their own spin on it, and I think it looks great. I like the face. I like the way the stripes are on the face, kind of angling down towards the mouth. I think that's fun. And he's got little brow horns that I don't think, they're kind of there, but yeah, no. Love it. Fantastic. The baby is hot garbage. Spoiler. The baby, terrible. Hideous baby. Awesome male. Chasmosaurus. This is a case of one of the animals where they changed the female design. So this is not just a new male, this is a new female. Maybe this is maybe slightly larger frill. I think it is. I think at least it's like wider across than it was in JWE2. And then this is obviously like very shrunk down. Feels a little weird to me. It's like the obvious low-hanging fruit for the ceratopsians. Yeah, the Chasmo baby's dog shit too, for sure. It's not the worst ceratopsian we have in terms of the designs, I would say. This frill feels too small. I think they went too far on shrinking this down on the female. And the pattern, like, it's not bad on the frill. The body spots are a little... Something feels a little off with these. I don't know how to quantify that. It just... Maybe it's because it gives me kind of giraffe vibes, and, like, I don't associate a ceratopsian with, like, giraffe vibes. I don't love it. I'm torn between shared custody and shows up for birthday. It's probably... Okay, we're going shared custody. Here's the logic with shared custody. Out of the animals where they have the difference in the frill size for the male and the female, like a substantial difference, I think this is probably the best example of that. Spoilers, the Sinoceratops and Triceratops do this, and both of those really suck. This one I don't like, but it looks less bad, I think. So, even though it's very underwhelming, I'm going to put it perfectly in the middle. All right, my boy Chungkingosaurus. Mangrove? We got to do Darth Maul shit here, always. Got the best Darth Maul I can do. I guess. That's just the same guy. I think the neck waddle, this should be like a male feature. I think I'm like canonically in the franchise, this was the first like dimorphism trait we had was a neck waddle for the buck rex. And then we don't have like any like males that actually have like a waddle. This is like my favorite stegosaurian in the game, but this male fucking sucks. Left to go get cigarettes. Dog shit. Coelophysis. I think it's kind of fun. That this guy had, of course, this little spinal pattern, and then when they make the male, all they do is they give him like a kind of a different sort of vertebra pattern going down the tail. That's kind of funny. And then there's more of a stripe along the face. Apparently the plates are slightly different. Pretty sure they are. Yeah, there might have been a slight difference, but like I need to see them like literally overlap to believe that. I do like this tail pattern. It also reminds me of snakes. I think that's kind of fun. It's not amazing, but it's about what you expect for a scavenger. Honestly, Homer Simpson tier, it's not like blowing my socks off, but this is about like the best you can expect really for a small animal like this without doing something completely ridiculous. I think I like it. I mean, it's very simple, but it's a unique pattern. Like this tail thing, they don't do this on any other animal. That's worth some points. They didn't just do frontier splotches. And we got this guy, this little monster. Yeah, this doesn't do anything. Left to go get cigarettes tier. This is nothing. This guy essentially doesn't have dimorphism. You know what? No, shows up for birthday tier. We know what this animal's dimorphism looks like in the franchise, and it's just color palette. This thing shouldn't have a huge substantial difference because really the difference is like saturation, with like one being more of a gray and one being more of a light green. So theoretically, the proper way to do like male female is to do like this. So in that sense, it is kind of what it should be. Should this be mid tier? Because like this is an animal that canonically shouldn't be substantially dimorphic. Is something supposed to happen? What, switching between these two? You know what? Hot take, mid tier. This is how compy dimorphism should be. This is correct. All right, concavenator. So he gets like a different snout shape. Yeah, I like that. I like that the snout's a little more rounded. Yeah, some animals not having visible dimorphism, especially where it's supported with the franchise, is fine. That's part of the awkwardness of like tier ranking these, is because like not every animal should be a banger, right? Yeah, let's make that very clear right now. Every animal should not be top tier. There should be animals in like shared custody tier, right? These like perfectly acceptable takes. The problem is for some animals that really feel like they should have dimorphism, things that are like heavily covered in display features like Allosaurus and Kylosaurus, they don't look good. But like Compy isn't the kind of animal where you wouldn't expect there to be much dimorphism, so that one, perfectly fine that it's there like that. It's a little bit vibes based, like for sure. So the quills are longer on the arms, presumably the head too. Yeah, substantially so on the head. What is this pattern though? Like this pattern's ridiculous. Should Archie be moved up then? You know what? That's a fair point. Yeah, I think so. I think Archie should be moved up. I think that I like that. Yeah. Animals that like don't have substantial dimorphism and probably shouldn't should be like shared custody tier, I think. I don't really like a lot of these patterns I'm seeing here. This is really weird. I don't know what the logic is here with this like I like the little spots on the neck like right there. But this bit on the hip is like wacky. Yes, I saw the stuff about the Diplodocus coloring in real life. Very cool. It's my favorite sauropod, so. Should conch be high tier or top tier? I'm not sure I can put it on top tier. Because I don't really like the male's patterning work here on the top. I do like the bottom, though. But that's also just kind of present on the female. I mean, I guess you can kind of do something like this where the patterning on the thighs is not that noticeable and it's like not that bad. This is a hard one because the only grievance I have with this is the pattern. I like the skull shape with oh, it's even like a little double crest on the nose there. That's fun. And then presumably this one is pretty much, there's still a little bit of a V there, but yeah. Like I like the head shape changes. The quills make sense on this animal for this being quilled. I appreciate that's not just quills on the head because it's got quills on the arms too. An animal we know had quill knobs. That makes sense. Yeah, the dimorphism physically is great. It's just the pattern that leaves me hung up. I'm gonna put it in Homer Simpson tier, but we're gonna put him at the front. Even though we're not actually sorting the individual tiers by like who's actually better, we're gonna put him ahead. Yeah, it looks good as long as the thighs are dark, but it's still a bit of a problem. Let's look at a light one. What if we did this one, but it was on more of an orange? Eh. 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 We'll put him at the bottom of Hot Dad tier, I guess. That is one of the better examples of physical dimorphism. I think it still has to win because of that. He just got frontier patterned a little bit. Is what it is. Corythosaurus. So his helmet changes, of course. Whoops. I was like, where's Calcarana? There it is. So yeah, small crest, large crests. And that is probably the only difference. And that's probably fine. These are features that should be probably size dimorphic. In terms of pattern work on the new one, I mean, it's kind of echoing the female color palette, just with some more exaggerated spokes on the head. And I think I like that. I think this is a perfect example of a nice, solid shared custody tier. Probably. Why is Corey's leg so thick? Because he's thick. Is the male like more meaty? Probably not. I mean, the hadrosaurs are probably should be pretty bulky. You may be the #1 Corythosaurus fan. You may be. I'm debating putting it a step higher. Problem with the Cory is, again, having like a really shitty color palette for the patterns as well. And like having some color selections that don't mesh well. I think if this guy had a better color palette, I would put this up a tier. But since it doesn't, yeah, the crest is definitely the highlight of this design. This is a good design. It's also somewhat like film accurate because it still kind of references the crest design we already have, which I like. You would say high tier. I'm willing to put him in Homer Simpson tier for you. That's as high as he gets. Dinocaris. It's pretty much the same guy, different striping. I don't know if there's any actual physical difference on these guys. I don't know if there's any increased size on the hump. I don't think so. No difference in the feathers draping off the tail, really. Yeah, I almost always just do the canonical Corythosaurus colors, too. This guy's tall enough, the tier list gets in the way a little bit. Hey, Diablos, how's it going? Diablos. Well, we did a park earlier and it bugged out and ruined the whole park. So now we're tier ranking male dinosaurs. What's going on with his spine there? What is that glitch? Feathers are losing their mind. Yeah, we can put him like this. Problem is when we reset the camera, he goes back there. We can, I'll just have to always rotate it. But yeah, I don't think there's any real difference in the face design. I don't hate it though. I think this is shared custody tier. This is an okay dad. It's nothing special. Nothing special, but it's not disturbing. I don't think it goes in Homer Simpson tier because it's not doing anything for me. I think we're gonna solidly keep shared custody tier for the animals who like don't really have meaningful dimorphism. when that feels okay that they don't have meaningful dimorphism. Deinonychus. Deinonychus, if you prefer. Don't do that. Let's do Rana. Death Valley, sure. So, female, smooth, male. He's got the crest. Kind of like the Austro crest, where it's not really a mohawk as much as it is a ridge of feathers. Have a distinct looking male without actually changing the design. True, yeah, the pattern is noticeable, 100%. Don't know if there's much of a difference in like the width of the tail on the Deinonychus. I don't think so. Hot dad for Deinonychus? Or Dinokairos? I don't feel hot dad tier for this. But it is better than many others. I'm gonna put that in a Homer Simpson tier. JWE Deinonychus the female just for the bit. We won't do that to her. That's just rude. Dilophosaurus. So this is one that is just it's just wrong. Left to go get cigarettes tier. What is this? So this is probably the first example we found where very clearly this female design is just not correct. It's just wrong. What this should have been is this should be the pattern for the female, obviously one. And then the male should be this but bigger. This was the perfect opportunity. This is what I thought they were doing when this animal was first revealed for 3. This was the perfect opportunity to have the size discrepancy be resolved by being a male-female thing. And they didn't do it. Blah! F tier. Terrible. That implies that the JP Dilophosaurus is transgender, which it might be. But I never took the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park to actually physically appear outwardly as a male, only that they would, develop the necessary sex organs to reproduce. If the dinosaurs completely changed their skin patterns, surely the park owners would have noticed that. So yeah, hate it. Dimetrodon. Yeah, what is this pattern? Just some little splashes of color there on the top. Oh, I guess it's just, okay, because there's like an interior stripe and an exterior stripe. It's 2 colors. Weird. This feels like a more natural pattern with the little eye spots. You like the TED Talk videos? I'm glad to hear that. I like making the TED Talk videos. I think they're fun. It's a fun way to present them. Yeah, he's also a juvenile. I stand by that canonically. That was the intent. That's what all the classic trilogy support for the Dilo shows, but whatever. Yeah, I don't think this does anything. This is like a weird choice, I think, for pattern. It looks really weird, especially when it's just like the 2, like, it's like the 2nd and 3rd stripe out of like 5 on the sail there that get the extra splash of color. It's very weird. Also, this guy's got hot pink. That's strange. This is an animal that I feel like should have the sail as a substantial display feature for the males. Yeah, making a distinct sail pattern was like the easiest low-hanging fruit, and they couldn't even pull it off. I agree completely. Like this, I like the patterns, like the eye spot look. I think they should have just taken this and cranked it up a little bit more. and they would have had it. This is weird. This is just feels like they just threw color on there. It really feels like this thing just got painted. Like paint just dripped on them. It looks like those like shirts people have that have like paint on them. I'm feeling I'm not feeling generous. I'm feeling left to go get cigarettes tier. Well, no, yeah, because the female looks like a. No, it doesn't evoke the rage in me that a lot of the other ones do. This is shows up for birthday tier. This is a bad shows up for birthday, but this isn't on par with like the sauropod males or like the Dilophosaur mistake. Like a lot of these are starting to get so bad down here, we got to be a little more picky. I think we're already filling up cigarettes tier. All right, my boy Dippy. You know what? Quilly and Calco is a good combo. So what do we got? We got same stripes but bigger. Have I seen the Adaphosaurus from Carnivore's Triassic? No, I have not. Yeah, this is probably cigarettes tier. I like this guy. Missed opportunity to do something with the male. It doesn't offend me. It's just lackluster. But maybe lackluster is like also a sin. It kind of is. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it belongs in cigarettes tier because this is again from a meta standpoint, this is a missed opportunity to put some more interesting skins on sauropods. They could have improved the underwhelming patterns by just making a better male, and they didn't do it. So even though at a glance I don't hate this, we're going to put this at the bottom tier for the missed opportunity this represents. All right, Dreadnoughtus. You get some white stripes on the back there. Interesting. Kind of like the yellow. It's not amazing, but I like it more than the other ones. Yeah, I think I'm feeling birthday tier for this. I never did get a good sense of whether there was a size difference too, because the animations on the website really made it look like the male was substantially bigger, but that doesn't appear to be the case here in the hatchery. But maybe that's because they're scaled similarly in the hatchery preview. But looking at them in game when we used them last time, they didn't really look like there was much of a size difference. So I think it's just a weird thing with the choice of gift they put on the website for these guys. But I still think it is better than most of the other ones. Yes, shows up for birthday tier. It's at least on par, like the Dimetrodon. It's something. All right. Break time. All right, Dryo. We go from this to this, which is not anything. But this is another animal that probably shouldn't be super dimorphic anyway. And some of the patterns are better for it. Like there's a little more color going on here with this Papu. I think this is perfectly mid-tier. Underwhelming, but like kind of expect it to be. Old Eddie. So the fleshy head crest being the primary sexual dimorphism thing makes a lot of sense. Some people had hoped this would have a crestless female, so you could recreate the website design exactly. But I understand why they didn't do that. Of course, echoes, you know, a rooster a bit. The head colorization too being a male feature here, I think is a good idea. Well, then, yeah, largely. I mean, I always like the pattern on these guys with like the tail stripes, which are largely the same on both. Maybe a little more stripy on the male. It's pretty good. And Monosaurus is pretty good. I'm a little bit. I don't hugely like it doesn't like blow my socks off, but I think it's exactly what it should be, right? I think it's kind of almost inspired to take the paleo art style design from the website and make that the male and make the female not have all this facial coloring. I'm going to reward this with top tier. It's not my favorite design, but I think it deserves hot dad tier for like making a very, very good call on taking the franchise design and thinking logically where that should go, right? Because this like colored head is very male display feature coded. And Mono's the only good hadrosaur. I disagree because I think Maiasaura slaps now. It didn't really before, but I'm very happy with Maiasaura in this game. Gallimimus. Franchise design. They kept the small JP striping on the female. And then on the male, we have a different take on the striping where it's thicker stripes. Still on the back there, tapering off as you reach the hips. I like that these designs feel like they belong to each other. That this and this do feel like variations of the same animal. This male patterning also kind of resembles a little bit some of the other Gallimimus patterns in the franchise. I'm going to actually... So, it's a little bland, right? But the Gallimimus is just often a little bland. Okay, there's one other angle to this, actually. And that's the concept art Gallimimus from Jurassic Park. There is a concept art, the original concept art for the Galley, where it has blue colorization on it. Canonically, in my head, that was always the male. And I am disappointed that you can't make that in the game. Now, that's concept art, so it's not canon. So I'm going to put Gallimimus in shared custody tier, but I'm actually tempted to put it in Homer Simpson tier. If this had blue stripes on the male, if it had the blue, and I could make the concept art from Crash McCreary, this would be possibly jump up 2 tiers even, honestly, for me. But we're going to put this in shared custody. This is good. This is fine. Yeah, the difference should not be too substantial if you want to replicate the film herds. It would just be nice if you could also replicate the concept art, but you can't. And yeah, Maya and Amonto are the only 2 hadrosaurs that look right, plus the Dominion Para. But the Dominion Para not being quadrupedal sucks. All right, here's a controversial one, Giga. So you've got the male design, and you've got the female with the different spine shape. So they took the female, and then for the male, they just gave it more of an extended, smoother crest on the back here, which I kind of like comparatively. I think part of the weirdest part of this design is how the shape of this feels strange. This feels like a weird scoot shark fin thing. I think this feels much more natural. It's still weird, but like, yeah, no male Dominion para is nonsense. The gig is a weird one because I don't really like this animal. But if I'm evaluating the dimorphism they gave it rather than how I feel about the animal, um, Gigodimorphism would just be the frontier one with a slightly different facial pattern, all of the Imanto. Maybe. I mean, I think this is okay. Why is the Dominion one a female? Cause. Cause all the dinosaurs are girls, right? In the franchise, that's still a thing. It's not. But I don't know if there's any support in the movie itself for it being male. I just know it was called male sometimes by like production stuff. And they've not gone with that here. Yeah, we're not evaluating the social structure either for taking this into account. Here's a weird thing too. Why does the female have the blue on the nose and then the male doesn't? Why does the male not have fancy colors, but the female does? Why does the female get the splash of color on the snout? Strange. That's really weird. Yeah, I hate this is yeah, honestly, that's the worst part of this. The worst part of this animal is not the design itself, it is that the scars are part of the model. Terrible. Awful. This is the worst part of this animal. 100%. Does the male not have it? No, even the male is scarred. That's so lazy. Like, you're already fixing it, changing the model. Why not remove the scars on the male? He's got the same scar. Why has he got the same scar? I don't know how to evaluate this one. I'm putting it in shows up for birthday because I think if we're taking this as the base and we're making it into a male, this is not bad. The big problems here with this animal, in my mind, are the following. Why does the extra splash of color show up only on the female? This face looks way more like a male face to me in terms of display than the face on the actual male. I like the spine for making this a male version of the Giga from Dominion, but why did they not remove at least the scars from the male? They're already model editing. Just fix this. Missed opportunity to do that. Gigant Spinosaurus with his weird, awful animation rig. This disgusting rigging issue that's never been fixed. Yeah, I mean, it's just not a Giga, but we're not evaluating it based on that. I'm not going to take off points for it just not being a Giga. Because then we're just doing like a franchise tier list thing. The rigging is also completely shot on the male. So that's not fixed. Didn't really expect it to be. This is not really doing much with the pattern here. They somehow resisted doing anything different with the shoulder spikes. This is kind of another Stegosaurus that's got like no dimorphism. I don't know if the spines are longer on the male. A touch? They like connect above that spike there. I think they are like just barely slightly longer. It's so hard to tell. It's small if so. It's got to go where we put the chung. Yeah, this is probably cigarettes tier because it's like missed opportunity to do something with this. This is like nothing again. The pattern's essentially the same. It's just nothing. Guanlong. We're not going to dwell on this one. This is just top tier. I love this animal. The splash of color on the neck is inspired. That's great. The patterning I like. I really like the crest patterning on the male. Color being there. The extra splash of color on the tail. The tippy top here. This is like... This is one of my favorite juveniles and one of my favorite males. He's even getting honors and getting put at the top of Hot Dad tier. Fantastic. Phenomenal. This should have been the level of quality we should have demanded from every male. Ferrerosaurus, one of my favorite animals in the franchise and in real life, who always looked like shit ever since we moved to JWE3. He never looked as good, or she never looked as good as she did in the first game. Until now. Well, no, that's not entirely true. I think it still probably looks better in JWE1. But this is an improvement. The quills, I could take or leave. They don't ruin it for me, but they don't really do anything for me. But it is undoubtedly an improvement from the female. Yeah, the quills just feel like they think it's a raptor. Which is like... No. It might not even be a theropod, my guys. Like, come on. And a lot of the patterns don't do anything for me either. I really like the red with the black. Or like anything with the black probably is good. But a lot of the other color palettes, like the Papurana works occasionally. Like if you want a very yellowy one, it's all right. This is Homer Simpson tier for me. This one, the big thing this does is it gives you a version of this animal that doesn't look like dog shit. So this gets Homer Simpson tier because it is a substantial improvement over the underwhelming female, right? This animal always annoyed me because it's one of my favorites. This is acceptable, and that's nice. That's nice to see. I am tempted, honestly, part of me is tempted to put it in top tier, but I know that it doesn't deserve it, so it doesn't get it. The quills take you out of it. I can totally buy that. That's completely understandable. If you think it should be mid-tier, I will not hold that against you at all. But for me, it's a substantial improvement over the female, and it makes me happy. Homalocephaly. This is a very unique and distinctive pattern on the female. The male just kind of kills it and just kind of has frontier splotches. Underwhelming. It's not the worst example of the frontier splotches. It doesn't like actively disgust me, but I don't think this gets shared custody tier because I think the male is a step back in design. So this goes in birthday tier, I think. Can we make a JPOG homalocephaly in this game? I don't remember. Isn't the JPOG homalocephaly kind of just this, more or less? Yeah, the male having a thicker head could have been a thing, for sure. I agree with that too, yeah. Given that it's, you know, a flat-headed Pachycephalosaurid, a smaller one, I think it's okay that it doesn't have that. But yeah, still doesn't go in mid-tier, it goes a step below. Hypsilophodon. I'm quite fond of this little fella. I like the little splash of color on the shoulder for the male. I think that's nice. Oh yeah, right, because it's got like the red. No, because the Homalocephaly head crest in this game never changes color, right? So you can't make one with like a red dome. Yeah, Hypsilophodon's good. People are just crazy. I like Hypsilophodon. Hypsilophodon should have had some sort of unique gimmick to it. Probably. That I can agree with. Maybe this guy needed a little more sauce to sell him to people. I like the color palette choices here too. I like that the male has this extra splash of color. I'm going to put this guy in Homer Simpson tier. It is limited dimorphism, which makes sense for this sort of animal. But the dimorphism they gave it of this extra color on the male versus the female is fun. I like that the color goes from one color to two, or the pattern color goes from one color to two. And I like that it's kind of just a difference in, like, there's a little bit difference in the patterning, but it's mostly the difference in having this like colored stripe. Very simple, but I like it. Effective, I think. Iguanodon. This to me was the quintessential example of frontier splotches, of just being an awful variant design in JWE 2, and yeah, it's not really doing it for me here either. This is probably the JWE2 design for the male, and the female is they just erased part of the splotches, and it's just got like a naked tail. This is bottom tier. This is dog shit. Left to go get cigarettes. I'm a Frontier Iguanodon enjoyer. Indos get skipped. Irritator. Of course, the new hotness. Irritator. So the dimorphism is the head crest is bigger. It has a splash of color on it. We get this more coloring along the spine and the tail, which is like an embellished version of the female. Technically, the Indoraptor is male, so we should rank him. Okay, F tier. He doesn't look like he belongs in the franchise. Get him out of here. This is subtle dimorphism, but I think it works being subtle. You think it's automatically top tier? I have one problem with this guy. And that's that some of the color palette stuff doesn't work for me on the face as much. It's mostly just an issue with the base colors, honestly. I think the face looks a little weird sometimes. I do like the splash of color on the bottom of the neck, though. That's very good. Yeah, it probably has to be top tier. I was mentally debating between Homer tier and top tier, but yeah, it definitely is one of the better males. All right, top tier. The consensus has been reached. Kentrosaurus, the first DLC, well, not DLC, the first update, free update animal. Yeah, that sure is some dimorphism. F tier. Dog shit. Oh, no, wait, he tried to sneak in to show up the birthday tier. What does he think he's doing? He left to go get cigarettes and he never should have came back. Logiceratops. I like that we have a frill pattern that starts here on the female, and then on the male, they just crank it to 11. Like, this is another example of an animal where I feel like the patterns are related, and I like that. It's not like they took the female and put a pattern on the male. They just cranked it up. I like it. The body stripes are kind of whatever for me. That's fine. The horn dimorphism on this guy looks really natural. It doesn't look weird like some of the other ones do. I like that the female horns kind of bend forward, and then the male has those upturning tips at the end. Like an actual, not just bigger horns, but a different horn shape. Yeah, the Kentrosaurus is almost no change. The frill horns are also different shaped here. Like, yeah, this is like easy S tier. I'm going to actually put this up by Guanlong because this is one of my favorite males. Yeah, the actual horn orientation, it's like incredible. Incredible work. One of the best males in the game again. This is like exceptional Guanlong tier design. Fantastic. Lystrosaurus. Yeah, it's weird that they didn't do anything with any of the Stegosaurids. They're all like nothing. It's crazy. This guy has thicker stripes. I feel like this guy would have benefited from some bigger tusks. Hey, Mutasaurus, welcome to our, what was a park build before the game bugged out and killed the park, and what is now a tier list ranking the males in the game. Like, we're skipping the swimmers and flyers because I need to put in a different hatchery for that. Because we can't preview them in here. Unfortunately. Because there's no species viewer, we have to actually build the other building. It's easier just to do all the dinosaurs first. Or all the land animals. I think this should be more dimorphic. I think the tusks are definitely an opportunity for dimorphism, and I think the head crest could be dimorphic, either in color or in size, and it's in neither. It doesn't offend me because it's a smaller animal, so I don't feel like it's necessarily needs dimorphism. Yeah, it just feels like it's more of a missed opportunity than anything. I think it goes in Dimetrodon tier, shows up for birthday. Boop. Okay, Maiasaura. Everybody's least favorite least favorite Hadrosaur in the last game. In this game, gets a fantastic pattern. Let's get a better color. The blue one is always great. So yeah, nobody really liked this guy in the previous game. I never hated this animal. It didn't blow my socks off or nothing, but this male design is fantastic. The bigger nose, did like the two-tone patterning. I like the blue with the black around it and then the white. The way these three colors interact in the tail is so good. I love this thing. I think this is a fantastic pattern more than anything. I think this is exceptional. This is fantastic. This is top tier to me. This is hot dad tier. I'm not going to put it on the tippy top of the echelon with the Guanlong and the Loki, but this is up here for like massive glow up territory with like the Ceratosaurus, where like I really like what they did with the Maya and the Cerato males. So we'll put those there. A male good mother lizard. Yeah, it's Mr. Mom. All right, the new dude. Here is the new guy, Mahjong. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big Bellasaur joyer. So the male has a little more like rugosity on the nose. little more bumpiness here, which is kind of interesting. The unicorn horn, of course, is larger. And maybe the spines on the back of the head are bigger? I think so. Actually, the spines along the entire body are bigger. This is not as phoned in as the Kentrosaurus one. It does give it like a different silhouette across the top. I think the like cranking the ruggedness of the nose up to like 11 could have been interesting, making this even more exaggerated. Could have been cool. It does have a 2-color pattern, but the female has that too. So you get the eye stuff going on. See, here's the problem I have. They just spilled paint on his head. What is this pattern work on this skull? What is this? This is literally just like completely spilled. The way the spines stick through it there on the back too, it looks completely unnatural. It depends, you know, like if you pick the right color combo, it's not noticeable. But again, we're like putting in the work to make it not look weird. It's not their best work, but the silhouette is good. Debating between shared custody and Homer tier myself. I think there's probably enough color palettes you can pull together here that don't look weird. As long as the colors blend okay, it's pretty good. I'm going to put it in Homer tier. I think it's kind of a low one, though. It's not blowing my socks off. But I do think I like it more than like the Chasmosaurus and stuff, so I think this is okay. A Mamenchisaurus. Spots, but slightly different. F tier. There's nothing there. This is... Where is the Mensch? Am I blind? Wait, is he missing? Am I stupid? Is he so bad he didn't even get on the tier list? Wait, I don't see him. Patagotitan. Let me add him. Well, I didn't crop it very correctly, but you know, it's there. We know it's Mamenchi. We can't see anything except for its neck, but I tried. I tried with a minimal amount of effort. Metriacanthosaurus. Death Valley Rana. Death Valley Rana. So again, they took the website kind of design, or the website color palette, and they put it on the male, but they left the pattern kind of alone. Right? I feel like this is the original website pattern. Yeah, I am going through the trouble to get them on there for F tier because it's funny. I feel a little mixed on this. I feel like they should have done with this what they did with the Admonosaurus. And they should have just made the website design the male. And then done just a toned down version of it for the female. And instead they split up the color palette and the pattern so that you can't make the website design anymore. And that's kind of a sin, honestly. It's not like bad, but I think it has to get knocked a tier because it messed up the potential to do the website design. I'm putting it in shows up for birthday tier. If this was not based on an existing design, this would be perfectly fine. Or even good. But because they messed up an existing design, it gets penalized. Alright, Death Valley Rana on both. Okay. So some like nice saturated color on the frill for these. This guy's always had a nice range of colors. The design, of course, is a little questionable, but I think it makes sense for the dimorphism on this to just be like a nice splash of color on the frill. And I don't hate the striping they gave him on like the arms and the legs. That feels appropriate for a small guy like this. Although maybe they should all just be a little stripy. That way they all have a little bit of camouflage going on. I'm feeling slightly generous. This is definitely at least shared custody. Do I think this is a Homer Simpson? Or do I think this is shared custody? I think this is Homer Simpson tier. I like the colors. Yeah, a slightly different frill is all I really want, and they did a good job on it. It's not just that it's different, but it's nicely different, right? Like, the color palette's good, the way the frill blends is good. I like that it extends down to on top of the head in general. Like, the texture work is nice here. There's like these little extra iridescent scales. I think there's enough extra effort here that I want this to be in Homer tier. Morose. Does anything happen with that at all? Yeah, the colors are more saturated on the face. And the body striping is more noticeable. It blends in more there. I don't know. I feel like... I think this is fine. He's got a little bit of display feature going on here with like a stripe on the nose and along the eye. I think having brighter face on the male, it makes sense. It's not like incredible, but it is good. The body striping is a little whatever. I'm going to put this in shared custody. I'm feeling shared custody on Moros. I'm feeling this feels correct to me. It's a narratively dubious animal, let's say. And you know what? This animal's kind of dubious in general. It likes to kill himself. This should be a juvenile. And we should have a new adult model, realistically. Honestly, do we knock it for that? That this should be a baby? Because this really should be the baby model. This really should have a larger adult. Okay, I'm going to leave it where it is. Just perfectly mid-tier. We're going to treat it as if this wasn't illogical that it was so small, because it shouldn't be this tiny, but we're just going to ignore that. Same rule as the Giga, right? It's a fault of Dominion for presenting this animal poorly, and it's not a fault of the game. So we're just evaluating the dimorphism based on how the animal appears in the franchise. Canonically a baby, potentially, but I don't disagree. Alright, Muttaburrasaurus. That's the male, huh? I feel like there's more going on with the female's nose. This sucks ass. This takes what I think is one of the better early patterns in the Jurassic franchise, the Jurassic World Evolution franchise, and makes it worse. This was like one of the better patterns in JWE1 in base game, and this is just, they spilled paint on his back. This sucks ass. This is cigarettes tier. Big downgrade. The Moros from Dominion is not really ever confirmed to be a juvenile, but like in terms of the real animal, it should be. The pattern is nice. Is it though? Is it though? I mean, maybe the Pulcrana is not the best look for it. I like the female pattern a lot more. I'm not a big fan of this. Nasudo. Okay. This is wrong. This is not what this animal looks like in the franchise. F tier. Nasutoceratops is F tier. It doesn't matter. We literally don't even need to look at it. They did it wrong. This has the one of the two. If you're thinking about franchise dimorphism in the movies, there are two animals that come up immediately. There's the buck and the doe rex, the pair that is the centerpiece of the Lost World. And then there is the Nasudo pair in Battle of Big Rock. Obviously, there's other males in the franchise, but those are the two, like, the two male-female pairings that, like, the attention is drawn to the physical differences in the animals, and they completely shit on it in the game and in Chaos Theory. And I'm team two gay dads in Chaos Theory for the Nasudos, even though there was some pushback on that in the comments when I said that in the videos. But JP3 Raptors too, fair, yes. JP3 Raptors are also in that category. But the JP3 Raptors don't form, they're a variant without a model. They're not a true variant, right? So they don't even have an opportunity to like form the basis of a dimorphism in this game. But yeah, huge missed opportunity. Huge drop ball. Terrible. Notosaurus. This animal, of course, suffers from some real bad colors and some real bad patterning. I really like the model of this animal. I don't know if the male is doing anything in terms of dimorphism physically. Yeah, there are like I'm pretty sure you can find some instances of animals having two dads. Why is he so purple? Is what it is. This doesn't do anything for me. The pattern's just kind of the same pattern but different. Like they just made it different to be different. I think I'm just gonna put this in F tier. Like the least thing they could have done is they could have fixed the issue with like the fact that the armor on the female being like colored like this looks so weird to me. This never looks right. Yeah, like dipped in paint, plates and spikes. This looks weird. It just doesn't look right. And then to just not do something different on the male to make it look more natural, missed opportunity, not happy with it. Disappointing. This is an animal that I always kind of just like to use as a Borealopelta mentally and just have like some color palette that doesn't look weird, which is apparently harder to find than I remember. Did they mess this up in 3? Because I feel like in 2, if you went blank, this didn't look weird. Okay, well, that looks fine. What would happen? Wait, this is like different. Because the blank doesn't look normal at all. They all look weird. Okay, maybe it's just those first two, the Sonoran and Death Valley ones. I don't hate that. Yeah, I don't know. Some weird stuff going on here with that. Anyway, that's beside the point. Still sucks. Oloro Titan. How about some Yukon and maybe a nice splash of purple? All right, we got a big difference in head crest shape, with the male having like much wider hatchet that goes up much higher. They've got kind of the same pattern, which I can appreciate when the point of the difference is the head crest. I wish the animal had better posture, but that's not a dimorphism issue. I think it does the job that it's supposed to do, but it doesn't blow my socks off in any way. We put Corythosaurus in Homer Simpson tier. I think the Corythodimorphism's better, so I'm going to put this in shared custody. The new female doesn't fit well. Yeah. I think the Corythosaurus is a better example of Lambeosaurian dimorphism. Ornithomimus. Easy S tier. The neck colorization, the fact that he's got this like neck display is fantastic. Inspired. He's got the little extra coloring on the top of his head too, just for a little bit more. Like, fantastic. This is up there with Guanlong and Lokiceratops for being some of the best dimorphism in the game, especially if you do like the blue patterns and stuff. Like, that's incredible. Fantastic. Love it. Yeah, easy top tier, 100%. Oviraptor. So bigger head crest with a bit of a pattern on it. Some longer feathers on the back of the head. Poofier tail? Yeah, poofier tail. This is excellent. This is very good. This takes the features the animal had and then just kind of approaches them in a way that feels reasonable. The male is pretty much like the franchise design, right? Because the feathers are shrunk down from this for the female. And given that this was an animal we only ever see twice and was cut from the film in both cases originally, then brought back in the director's cut, it's possible that the film, the animal seen in the film was a male anyway. I think this is quite good. I think this is like S tier. Low S, but still like a very good take on this animal. Yeah, you can have like one be like a city patty or something with a little bit of different head shape. I mean, Oviraptor probably should not even have a crest, but again, we're sticking with the franchise depiction of it having the crest and rolling with that. A pattern that the newer species at the top of the list, 100%. Frontier definitely put all their eggs in the new species basket for the dimorphism and phoned in a lot of shit on the back end for the existing animals. Which sucks. Pachycephalosaurus. You can't make a film-accurate version of this animal to save your life, and that always annoys me. The dome is like essentially the same size. The spikes look like they're the same size. The male has some slightly different patterning here. What do I rank this? This sucks, but this animal always sucked. Ah, fuck it. He goes in cigarettes tier. Who cares? Fuck this guy. You know what? No. We're going to put him up a tier. We're going to put him slightly up. And shows up for birthday. Am I? Can I do that? Can I? No, this doesn't belong next to Metriacanthosaurus. That's like heresy. Nah, left to go get cigarettes. This thing is insane because the male has the shorter crest. I don't know what they were thinking. F tier. This sucks. Also, give me the Dominion variant, please. The fact that there is no male film skins. What are you doing? Why are there no male film skins? Why? Clearly, some of these Dominion, like, this is probably a male. Almost certainly probably intended to be a male. Yeah, Para is a huge letdown. Patago Titan. This is probably the best sauropod dimorphism, right? We get a splash of color on the head, the neck, some striping on the body. It looks like the spines on the hip are probably the same size. Hot take, you don't mind a hadrosaur having a flashier female? I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't think the animal to do it with, also you can't even see the head. I don't think the animal to do it with is the parasaur. So yeah, pattern on the neck, splash of color on the head there. Some decent color options. He's also got patterning on the neck. I like the stripes on the neck. That's good. I think Pulcrana looks very nice. How they make it different from Titanosaurus? Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the problem. That's why the people who still want Argentinosaurus in the game are crazy. We'll get Alamosaurus back probably someday. We have this guy. We have Titanosaurus, Andronautus. We don't need Argentinosaurus. That would be a terrible addition. Does the female have the little beard of scales? Yeah, the female does have the little scale beard on the neck. Yeah, I don't know why this guy was put in the game with the fact that we were clearly going to get the Titanosaurus. It's also got a beak, which is cool, but that's not a dimorphism thing. I think they could have cranked up the colors a little bit more, I'm going to be honest, but this is definitely the best sauropod. I'm going to put it in Homer Simpson tier, though. It's quite good, but it should be better, I think. It's an exceptional sauropod, but sauropods continue to underwhelm, in my opinion. I think one thing you could have just done would just been like, don't give the female all the spines. Make the like smooth off the spines a little bit more. Turn them into more of a male display feature. Yeah, it's the best sauropod, but they still are underwhelming overall. All right, locking it in. Proceratosaurus. So the head crest shrinks down for the female. This is largely what you'd expect. The male has a lot of stuff going on here with the color. I like the simple horizontal stripe on the female. The original pattern here. I think that's good. This starts to feel busy to me. A little bit. This feels a little bit busy. I think you took a unique and interesting pattern from the female and you just erased it and you put an arbitrary stripy pattern on the male. This is not great. This is a step backwards. It doesn't completely offend me, so I'm going to put it in shows up for birthday tier. But this is not great. Protoceratops. So the longer quills on the tail, of course. That's kind of it. A little bit more of a patterning on the frill, which makes sense, but it looks like fairly restrained, right? They don't go crazy with it, which is probably good. as a counterpoint for some of the more ridiculous Ceratopsian dimorphism things they do. Bigger to scale with Velociraptor. Yeah. Yeah, I knew going into this tier list that this was going to be unbalanced. Because I knew I had some negative opinions about a lot of the male dinosaurs in this game. Single father for animals with good males and bad females. It's a little late in the video to do that. I don't hate the idea, but I think we would have maybe wanted to quantify that sooner. This is good. The spots increase on the male. I like the shape of the quills. I'm also a big fan of Ceratopsian quills. Really debating with myself where I want to put this one. I think I'm going to put it quite high. I think I'll put it in hot dad tier, but this is not on the level of like Loki. So this is just a lower hot dad, I think. Yeah, the problem too would be like, how would we separate out the animals that were improved by giving them a male versus the animals they ruined by nerfing the female, right? That's kind of a problem. Citico. This guy is interesting, of course, because it's based on the real animal in terms of some of the color palettes and the things you can do with it. I guess just specifically if you do like the blank, right? Yeah, the blank is kind of the real thing. But if you do the blanks, they aren't very dimorphic other than the much more substantial difference in the quills. I quite like the porcupine thing going on here with the stripes on the tips of the quills. This is really nice. And I like that the stripes are not on the tips of the quills on the female. Yeah, I would say this is better than Protoceratops, I think. I don't know if we actually start putting more patterns on this. Male has more of a flat striped look. What about the cheek horns? Are they... Yeah. I think the horns are bigger on the male. Yeah, definitely, right? I think the face spikes do change. Yeah, this is also top tier. This is, you know what? I'm putting it up with Ornithomimus. I like Guanlong, Loki, and Ornitho more than this, but this is also very good dimorphism, I think. Yeah, between the spikes and the quills, like it's quite good. Pyroraptor. Okay, this is definitely the case of where like the feather crest thing goes like a little overboard. He looks like Steve from Stranger Things or something. It's a little much. It's kind of overdoing it. A little bit going on in the tail. Yeah, let's get a actual color in here. So the female's got like a splash on the nose and a little bit of other shit, and then the male gets this whole like face stripe. I don't dislike the face stripe. I think that's decent. You're heading out, Biocraft? All right, I'll catch you later. I mean, there's elements of this I don't mind. Like the feather tips being colored is okay. He's got, colored tips. I think I'm going to put this is going to go on shows up for birthday tier. This ain't great. This overdoes it. You're going to head out too, Muto? All right, thanks for coming by. Better with a more vibrant skin. Yeah, I mean, like, maybe a little bit. It's just that the head crest just feels like it's too much. It feels way, way over the top. Way over the top in a way that doesn't feel natural. It really feels like he's got a hairpiece. It just feels like it's really just stapled to the top of his head. And that's why it doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel like properly integrated, I guess, if that makes sense. All right, we're not gonna do the flyers and lagoon animals in this video. It's already too long. We'll have to come back to those another time. We still got a bunch of animals to do. We gotta try and speed this up. Quanjosaurus. That becomes this. The stripes get thicker. The horns get hornier, maybe a little bit. It's very minimal. This is kind of nothing. Like, it's an entirely different stripe pattern, but it doesn't really, like, do anything. And, like, I feel like the body stripes start to get too thick to the point where they kind of look weird. I think the female's better. Yeah. But, like, the Pyroraptor is an example of an animal where we've seen it once in the franchise, and that could have been the male. They could have just dialed back some of the dramatic aspects of the Pyroraptor to make the female, which they did with, like, the Admonosaurus. So. But it's not the worst male. It really isn't. Yeah, this is probably birthday tier. It's not, like, egregious, but, like, it doesn't do anything for me. Why do we put the Parasaur so low? Because for me, there's two problems with the para. The male has the shorter crest. That's just weird. Female long crest, male short crest. That like is strange. That doesn't really mesh with the franchise. And then they made all the skins male, and that's just weird and strange too. So that's why the male para, or the skin's female. So that's why the male para gets downranked. Is this just doesn't feel right? This feels wrong. It doesn't feel like the right animal. I would have been happy with the para if they just both had the same length of crest. And they just weren't dimorphic beyond, like, color palette. That would have been fine, because then it would have blended with the franchise's depiction of the para. But instead, it just feels like they tried to keep the franchise look, but then still do the traditional short crest dimorphism, and they just made it the male, which is just weird. Yeah, Quanju's going to be... shows up for the birthday. A beta cuck is a little harsh, maybe, but... Sauropelta. He does not look as gross as the Notosaurus in terms of the color, but I like the Noto model more. Nothing really going on here with the dimorphism that I can see physically. Brachii just looks like the same animal. And I penalized the Brachiosaurus because it was a missed opportunity to make the male more interesting. Like, there's a Brachiosaurus design in Fallen Kingdom that has kind of like an iridescent spot on it. And I think giving the male Brachii like iridescence would have been really cool. Underused. They just don't do anything to make it terribly interesting. Yeah, let's look at the purpley one here. I don't hate that. I don't love that color combo. Hot take, Polacanthus was your favorite Notosaur? I'm not sure how hot of a take that actually is. I feel like the Notosaurs kind of all fall in the same ballpark of, like, dealer's choice. I like Notosaurus because it allowed me to make a pretty decent Borealopelta, which is an animal I'm pretty fond of. But I can fully understand doing something different. This is better than... Where did we put Notosaurus? We put Notosaurus and cigarettes tier. Am I feeling birthday tier on this? I don't know. Nah. Still doesn't do enough. We need to rescale the tier list slightly. Let's do that. Just get the rest of that row back. There we go. Okay. I think I like this. I like this more than like Anki and Notosaurus, but I still don't think it belongs above this tier. Yeah, 2022 Parasaur should be a proper variant with a male version. 110% Noah. I'm right there with you. I also think one of the existing 2022 movie skins probably is male. Probably is intended to be a male. The blue one specifically. And I think having all three as female is just silly. If anything, make them non-gendered. Sinoceratops we're not even going to look at. This is awful. Sinoceratops goes in left to go get cigarettes. I slightly appreciate the idea of trying to make the female slightly more paleo accurate, but this animal is so far from being paleo accurate, they shouldn't have even tried. Trying to make this look like a real Sinoceratops just makes it look cursed. Spino. Death Valley Rana. Maybe Sonoran Rana. Not too much happening there. The sail is bigger on the male, right? Yeah. Not a huge amount, but a bit bigger. Shrek 2 is your favorite DreamWorks movie. Congratulations. I don't know if I've ever seen Shrek 2. I saw the original Shrek, and that might have been it. It's kind of the end of my era on those kind of movies. I feel like more could have been done with this. This is kind of the same dude. It's not, like, hideous. Okay, so you get a little bit of color on the tail and the shoulder. Slightly different facial patterning, or maybe not even that different. You think they should be mid or high tier? Really? That is the first take from chat that I've been genuinely shocked by. I think it's better than Tyrannosaurus. I mean, I'm probably gonna rank Tyrannosaurus very harshly. I don't think this slight difference in the sail size and like a splash of color on the shoulder does anything for me. Like, this doesn't make me feel anything. I'm not familiar with that Parasaur figure, Noah. I don't know if I have like a favorite Parasaur figure. I'm kind of underwhelmed by a lot of them. I've got a few, like the Hammond Collection one, but the classic kind of Lost World one's not bad. I'm gonna put Spino in like shows up for birthday tier, honestly. I'm not feeling this. I think this animal has a gaudy enough color palette. I don't think the crests are any different. This is the male, and then this is the female. Like that's the same head. I don't think they do much with this. Maybe they undercooked this too because of the Rebirth one coming. I would assume the Spino from JP3 would want to have a mate. It's actually like a fan theory that the mate was killed by the mercenary guy, and that's why it was so mad. I'm gonna put it in shows up for birthday. I think this animal should have had more done with it. I got to adjust the cropping again. Okay, there's the tier list back fully in view. It's been a little while since I've seen the Papo Brocky. Stegosaurus. This should have been the default. Wait. There we go. This should have been the default. This Stegosaurus slaps. This is fantastic. This sucks. I don't care if this is the current canonical interpretation of this animal. This sucks. This is not good. See, even there, it switched to the good one. It knew. Also, like, nothing going on here with this animal in terms of the dimorphism. Like, what is this? Like, his plates are a little different. Like, there's more color on the top and bottom. Slightly different, like some very subtle striping on the body. Yeah, this is crap. Stegosaurus, JWE, or the default variant, the Jurassic World variant goes in cigarettes tier. I suppose the argument for birthday tier is this is probably reasonably close to canon for this animal because we never see any substantial dimorphism for it. I am maybe letting my hatred for the animal overwhelm fairness here. You know what? Yeah, I am going to put it in birthday tier because this animal sucks in the franchise. It's not the fault of the game design. And as far as representing a Stegosaurus Jurassic World era male, this is probably about correct. And the horizontal stripes, I guess, look okay for a Stegosaurus. It's certainly this is better than like Kentrosaurus. Yeah, actually, that's the other thing. This is definitely better than like Chungking and Kentro and Gigant. This should be a tier above those. So this does go in birthday tier. Yeah, no, the design has it has gotten the worst downgrade out of like almost anything in the franchise, I think, going into the World Trilogy. They murdered that guy's design. It is not good. This is certainly a thing that exists. So it's an animal that I always liked, but like it hasn't been doing anything for me since Ornithomimus showed up. This is just giving him some different stripes. I mean, he does have like an interesting little double color patch thing on the head going on here. It's subtle. Yeah, and this one has like an unornamented head. It's okay. I don't like that it's just kind of like, hey, let's take the pattern and just make it more stripy. That feels like how they phoned in a lot of the males. It's just, let's make it have more stripes. Yeah, it's at least birthday tier because it's not like horrible. I think I'm going to put it... No, I think this is at least on par with like Archaeornithomimus. So this goes in shared custody. Because there's not that much to do with this thing in terms of dimorphism anyway. So this is acceptable. Stiggy. The horn shrink. By a good amount. The pattern doesn't really do much. But it's a franchise animal. And we don't see too much from these guys. So it is kind of hard to say, like the pattern probably shouldn't change too much. At least they tried harder with this than they did with Pachycephalosaurus. This is a better dimorphism than Pachycephalosaurus. I am also a huge fan of Styracosaurus. I am a Styracosaurus enjoyer. Yeah, it's definitely not amazing, the sticky. We put Pachycephalosaurus in bottom tier? We did. I think this is shared custody. I think this is fine. Yeah, it does what you'd expect. We're working with a franchise design. It limits a little bit what we should do for dimorphism. Shared custody. Perfectly fine. Styracosaurus. Great animal. I'm a big fan of the new pattern. We get noticeably bigger horns on the frill. I think this is a really good way to do this. Like, the frill does not substantially increase in size when you go to the male. It does change a little bit, maybe. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it is the same size, but the horns are bigger. And I like that. Very fond of this animal. I don't think I can, like this isn't really Loki Ceratops tier, but I like this a lot. This is going to be... This is one of the best. This is Hot Dad tier, I think. This is one of the best males for a JWE2 animal. I think this belongs with Maiasaura. It belongs with Ceratosaurus. And in Monosaurus, it's probably not as much of a glow up as like Maya or Cerato. But it belongs up there, I think. Very good. Suko. This was one they botched, right? Because they took the female... Yeah, because you can't really make the website one. That's what I'm trying to say here. Right? Because the brighter yellow was given to the male. They desaturated the female, which now never looks like the website design ever. Again, this probably should have been the patterning for the male with these colors, these brighter colors. And they kind of messed it up. Take it on its own. I don't like hate the pattern. It's just the fact that they like botched the website design, which kind of sucks. It's no irritator. Does it have a difference in the head shape? Not really. A little phoned in. Do the dark blue skin with the yellow. Which one's even the dark blue? I guess this one, the Yukon, is dark blue. Anything new for a Chaos Theory DLC other than Beckel's Spinax? New variants from Majungasaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus, and who else is in that? Suchomimus, literally the animal in front of us. So yeah, Chaos Theory DLC would be like one new animal and some variants, pretty much. Yeah, I think they messed up the colors. I think that's the biggest problem I have with this. Yeah, I mean, it's not awful. I think shared custody tier is fine. Yeah. Should have been better. Deserved to be better, I think. Theory. So, a little more of a splash of color on the face. The female is very flat, and then the male has this blue. Right? And if we change to the other patterns, you get more color on the face. I mostly just feel like I'm kind of annoyed with Suko by the fact that you can't really recreate the website color anymore. They've just kind of lost that. I think that's what the big problem is. So the female now just kind of has some spots. A bit too saturated on the Theory skins? Yeah, maybe. It is a little much. I think this is fine, though. I like the facial coloring. I think that's a good thing. Is there any difference in the hand claws? No. What about Well, what about the baryonics, Noah? I'm not sure how that's a question. I don't know what you mean by that. Those skins are already in the game, if that's the question. So Theory here is, I think, solid. And this is solid work. It's not like super inspired. Do I feel like this belongs in shared custody, or does this go higher? Homer Simpson tier is a little sparse. I'm going to put in Homer Simpson tier. I'm feeling the face color. I like that the overall color palette of the animal is pretty similar between the two. And if anything, the grievances I would have with this animal would be on the female. I think the spots are underwhelming on the female. This looks kind of whatever. I much prefer the stripes, like the broken up stripes of the male. So yeah, I think the female is the weak link here. I'm Homer tier. Homer tier, but barely. Triceratops. We're not even going to look at it. This is ridiculous. Well, we're going to look at it. What is this? What the fuck? What do they do? That frill is insane. The horns are probably actually fine because there are some crazy Triceratops horns. But that frill looks so awkward. Dominion style male Theory could be cool. This is bottom tier, of course. This is one of the worst males in the game. Awful. Also, no support for this in the franchise. Why is it here? Troodon. Pretty good design, color palette wise. Interesting animal. The male is kind of more of the same. I don't know what's going on with that face on this guy, though. That face is a little weird. I like the way the stripes are, like, covering the mouth on the female. Like, yeah, let's get the blood red, the pulchrana going. But then, yeah, on the male... Well, this is pulchrana on the male? That's like a step down. This is so much cooler looking, I think. But maybe it's the fault of this particular pattern. This is kind of just... I could see the argument for liking it being a kaleidoscope of colors, because it does have like multiple colors going on here. I get that. I don't know. I don't think it works for me. I really like the female. I just think the female looks so much better. I'm going to put Troodon and shows up for birthday tier, personally. It doesn't do it for me. It being venomous works well with that. True, I agree. But, like, I just, again, still think the female take is better. Honestly, the JW2 design is better, because I think the stripes are less on the body here, right? Like, we lose the striping on the body a little bit. Like, if you take this body striping and give it a face that looks more like this, I think I'd be happier with that, like, combined animal. The face is really what doesn't work for me on the male, personally. It just looks too... The color patterning looks too weird and random for me. All right, almost done. This is gonna be a over 2-hour video. Centausaurus. So this guy is another example of course, small crest female, big crest male. I like it. It sets it apart in that like they both are equally colorful on the crest. I can appreciate that angle of this animal in comparison to the rest of the roster. Also, yeah, we got it completely out of frame there. So yeah, that's the female short crest, male with the same color, big tall crest, pompadour. I like that the color continues down the nose. I think that's solid. It gives it a little bit of something different than the rest of the hadrosaurs to like set it apart. The body patterning is perfectly fine, and I think the colors blend a little bit better with it than like the Corythosaurus. It's not like particularly inspired on the body or anything. Also, the male having a different pattern than the female without it just being like crazy different, or being like we took the stripes and we just made them thicker or made more of them. Like, that's okay. Where to put this guy? We put Corythosaurus in Homer Simpson tier. Honestly, I feel like this belongs on par. I think this shines in comparison to some of the dimorphism in the rest of the roster. Am I feeling Homer tier? I think so. I think I'm feeling Homer tier. I think it's not amazing, but it's inoffensive and it does like what it's supposed to, but with a little extra embellishment. Like, I think just the fact that the nose is colored does a lot to set it apart in the roster. It's like lower Homer tier, but I think it belongs there. We're gonna adjust the cropping yet again. Give me a second. Do this real quick. Fast, fast, fast. Close. Okay. Maybe we shrink it up a little bit here too, and then maybe it doesn't get in the way of the other animals when we're looking at the last few. Well, bottom tier of 3 rows. Yeah, we might get there. Who knows? T-Rex. The problem with this animal being that we have canonical dimorphism, which is not represented in the game. Where's the dewlap, Frontier? Where's the dewlap? F tier. Not as bad as like Triceratops or like Sinoceratops, but not good. This should be better. Also, it's goddamn fucking Tyrannosaurus. Come on. Utahraptor. Do they look any different? Yeah, not really. Utahraptor is our quintessential thick neck boy, where he gets real stocky in the neck. We get a little bit different look with the head crest. We get these like highlight feathers on the wings. I really like that. I really like the highlight feathers on the wings. I think that's fairly inspired. They should have swapped the Utahraptors? You think this should be the female? Oh, you know what? With the social needs they have, 100%. Yeah. If you're going to make them have weird social needs like that, then yeah, make the female feel like she's the dominant, like big, chunky matriarch. Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I'm 100% there with you. Which would also kind of echo the Raptors in JP3 having like the one female and then like a male harem almost, which is probably where they got the inspiration for the social need of the Utahraptor from. Yeah, these should be switched. This should 100% be like a bigger, stronger female. That being said, I'm not going to hold that against the design. I can understand using that to dock it. I'm not going to dock it for that. I think this is great. I'm going to put this in hot dad tier, but we will put that little asterisk that they probably should be swapped. Velociraptor. An animal that continues to disappoint. Now, this sucks. This is less bad. This is better. This is not terribly good, though. This is just kind of a shittier version of the Tiger Raptor. You think good design should complement the gameplay? I agree. I agree completely. It's just, it's the only example really in the game where like that comes up with the Utahraptor. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an improvement on the design for the Raptor. Like the quills, just making the quills the default for the male is not the worst idea. And then the fact that we still have the Lost World Raptor without the quills is perfect. Like they don't, if we want to recreate the film, we can. Since we do have a movie skin, we're not stuck with the quills. Like, I can appreciate that. Are the quills different? They kind of are, which is interesting. Maybe a little bit. Maybe just slightly. Yeah, because like the male, there's like a weird, like extra long quill off to the one side there, kind of. Oh, there's even a little bit of color in it, actually. Honestly, that's okay. It's not great. Should be better for being an iconic animal in the franchise, but it's something. For the low point this is building off of, there's even a different color on the face. They did okay. I think this is kind of like the Herrerasaurus, right? We gave the Herrerasaurus points. We're like really improving a bad animal and making it look much better. I think we can apply the same logic here, where they take this underwhelming garbage and they make it look like something. So I think I put this in shared custody on the merit of the improvement, even though I don't think it's like amazing, right? I think that's okay. And yet again, we need to adjust the cropping real quickly. Like it's really hard to like I still feel like I'm never gonna use this, right? Which is kind of a weird thing for something that I'm putting in like mid tier, but it's definitely improved. Eutyrannus is the last land animal. Canonically, I very much like the Yukon Rana look for this animal in the past. And if we do the male, it's like the same thing, but there's a little bit of different color on the snout. A little shading on the horns. And then some different stuff with the stripes. And a little more scruff on the back of the head, but pretty subtle. Yeah, I suppose there aren't that many animals left, are there? Again, he's kind of out of the view there. Let's shrink this down a little bit. Oh, I think last time I shrunk it down, I didn't actually shrink it down on the stream. So that's my bad. But yeah, like the fact that the horns are like flat black on the female, and then on the male they actually have color on them. I appreciate that. I like the little shades of red on the face. The little scruff on the neck is like, it's not bad. Like the little extra length, it's not like crazy out of place like it felt on the Pyroraptor. That feels all right. This is Homer Simpson tier, I think. Is this Homer Simpson tier? Debating if it should go higher. I think it's weird. I think this is weird. The fact that the back is so naked looks weird to me. Like if we're using the female as a baseline, why do these stripes just completely disappear? Why are there still stripes on the side of the body? It's just kind of weird. But it's really nitpicky. I'm going to put it, it's going to be like a high Homer Simpson, I think, for me. I think it belongs there. Okay. I suppose I can set up the other stuff real quick. All right. Now with a tier list that's maybe not covering everything up. We're going to try and do these maybe extra fast. Attenborosaurus. You know what? Svalbard. It's kind of always good on things in the water, I feel like. That's the thing that exists, and that is also a thing that exists, but they gave him a skin disease on his flippers. Fantastic looking animal, awful male patterning. Attenborosaurus, left to go get cigarettes. I think this sucks. I don't know what the logic is with the flipper color. I guess there's a little other color there on the neck. It's just really hard to see with the lighting in this shitty hatchery view. But it's still just kind of random frontier splotches. Yeah, I think this sucks. Dunk. We get some bright patches on the side, some little stripy bits there on the female. Then if we do the male, we've got kind of the same thing, but the bright colors are in different spots. But it is a fish. And so I think this is like probably a fine take on a fish. Like fish dimorphism, probably not much of a thing really in that. Like especially not color-wise, right? At least I would think so. I'm not a fishologist, so... I'm kind of feeling that this is like whatever. Shared custody, maybe? Yeah, mid-tier. Ichthy. Never really loved the pattern on these guys. All the male does is like make it different and make it saturated. I mean, it's a small aquatic. It probably shouldn't have much of a change for dimorphism, but like, this isn't doing anything. And I'm not a big fan of the pattern work in general. I'm going to put this in shows up for birthday because I think the female also just kind of sucks. And so it's just kind of like whatever. This is like completely underwhelming. Chronosaurus. Good looking animal. Which has like no difference. Like actually no difference almost between the two. Here's the difference. The difference between this and Ichthy is I like this, and I don't really like the ichthy. I mean, he's got like slightly different shapes to the stripes. Maybe a little bit more on the back there. Eh. Yeah, just kind of breaking up the stripes a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm thinking shared custody because it doesn't offend me. It's like kind of on par with a dunk in that it just exists. A shark. Let's look at these speckled patterns, maybe. Yeah, no, like, real change? Probably shouldn't change, right? I don't think I've ever heard anybody describe any kind of dimorphism in sharks. I think I'm fine with considering that mid-tier. Because I kind of think this is probably all this really ought to be, right? Dock points for not having a bigger female. Is the female actually... Yeah, I suppose it is probably the same size. Is that a thing with sharks? Bigger females? Alright, I'm totally fine docking it for that. I'm down. We'll put it in birthday tier. It gets demoted on that merit. Mosa. Well, when we get the new Mosa, it'll look better than whatever this is. Is there anything happening here with the pattern? It's like very subtle little highlights. Like flipper color stuff again, maybe? Like, there's just like little patches that like change color. We know it has larger females. Okay, then it definitely should have larger females in game. Oh, the tail. The tail has color that comes in more. Can I get a decent angle on this at all with this lighting? Not really. Yeah, there's like little embellishments on the tail there, especially. And then on the female... No, just kind of the same thing. Just little bits of color. It's just fucking F tier, man. Who cares? Fuck Mosasaurus. F tier. This is nothing. You know what? Let's just do something like that with the cropping of the tier list. Boom. We'll just stretch it up. Okay. Crap. Plesiosaurus. Tylo's better anyway. I feel like that is going to be taken as a hot take by some people. So this guy, of course, is just got like a little colored stripe down her back. This gal. And if we do the male, kind of just a little colored stripe down its back and some skin disease on the flippers again, maybe. Yeah, they did this thing again where they just colored the tips of the flippers, which I think looks awful. And that doesn't seem to happen. Like, is the lighting engine just like worse in the lagoon? Is it just me, or does this feel like it's way harder to see what the hell is happening here? Yeah, there's like some skin disease. This F tier. Who cares about this shit? This guy sucks. All right, so the final tally on the lagoon animals is at best shared custody for like Dunk and Chrono. Like at best, they just didn't fuck up with making the male. None of these are good or interesting in any way, separate from the female counterpart. Very, very, very underwhelming. I'm generally kind of not shocked that nothing broke mid-tier. All right, and then we got the pterosaurs. Caillou. So we got a very substantial difference in the crest height. Makes sense. This is expected. A little bit of difference in the pattern. I like the pattern, I think, on the crest overall. It even has a decent blank as far as those like little remaining stripes go. Pretty good. Yeah, this probably just has to be top tier. Like my annoyance with this animal is like creeping in and like trying to convince me to put it lower, but let's be real. Like it's a good example of pterosaur dimorphism. It's just on an animal that kind of annoys me. I assume this has nothing, right? Like, is there even a good way to like see this animal? Yeah, what is even being done here? Does the tail change or something? Doesn't really look like it. I'm feeling an F. I'm feeling left to go get cigarettes here. Geosternbergia. So this is doing the same thing we had on the Kyujara, but it's just kind of generally an uglier animal. And there's a lot less going on with the pattern on this guy. It's really just the crest and some splotches on the wings. I mean, like, that's a pretty good color. I do like the little stripes on the front. I mean, this is fine. This is like Homer Simpson here. Pteranodon. So we get the color spreading like further onto the wing and then like coloring the tip of the wing a bit, which is like whatever. Yeah, this they should have just given this a long crest. And just said that every Pteranodon we saw in the franchise was a female. That would have been fine. It does have a longer crest. It's even weird that they like kind of call attention to it that way. Very strange. F tier. Penalizing it a little bit for its design in that sense, for being like portrayed always as a short crest, but Frontier should have just done something about that. All right, cats. Basically the same size crest, but then the male has it colorized. Yeah, size differences in the pterosaurs could be fun too, just in general. I think this is fine. They could have done more with like the crest and maybe some of the other shapes, because there's kind of like a little notch on the beak here. Like it's got a little bit of a rise. They could have made that like a dimorphic feature maybe. Doesn't bother me. I appreciate that the head crest is colored. I'm going to put this in shared custody. I think this is mid-tier. Tapejara. So this one does not change the size of the crest. In fact, the male looks to have less colorization on the crest, which is interesting. Certainly a choice. The male seems to have less colorization in general. I guess there's a little bit going on there on the back. It's kind of the same. I think the female looks a lot better. This feels like frontier splotches and stuff. Like this feels like a genuine pattern on the crest. This feels like nothing. This doesn't feel like anything. I'm gonna throw it a bone and put it in birthday tier because this isn't offending me as badly as the Pteranodon and Dimorphodon were, but this sucks. Thanatos. So no real difference in the silhouette between the male and the female. I like this animal, but I don't know if I've ever really liked the pattern a ton. I mostly just like because Asdarchids are cool as fuck. And this one is a better scaled Asdarchid for the purposes of the game. The male's got a little bit more like the beak is kind of the display feature here, which is interesting. I can kind of appreciate that. I think the back of the crest is slightly different. Maybe? It's very subtle if so. It might just be the fact that there's a splash of color here that's different. I don't see how they can possibly do Rebirth as two DLCs. I think if anything, Rebirth will be kind of like how Micro got bumped. I could see them like cutting one animal from the Rebirth DLC and just putting it in a random DLC later. I honestly don't know how Rebirth is going to support one campaign DLC, much less two. I think the amphibian doesn't even get into the game, and maybe we see like a Neurognathus, or probably I think a Neurognathus is the one that would get bumped. That's the most forgettable animal. How do I feel about this? It's not blowing my socks off, but I think it's probably perfectly fine. Like the beak colorization is a unique take on a dimorphic male, which I appreciate the uniqueness. I think I'm going to put it right next to Ket's. I think this is perfectly fine. Trope. Okay, look. Svalbard Rana is probably a good baseline there. So if we take the female to compare to the male, this is just like she exists and this guy's got a big splash of color. Crest is the keel or whatever you want to call it on the beak is about the same size. Not much else going on here. Yeah, they could honestly like bump Neurognathus from Rebirth and then put it in like a Pterosaur DLC with like Geolopterus and an insect feeder. If they wanted to do something like that, I think it'd be really shit to make the insect feeder DLC again, but I could see them doing it. I don't think this is like amazing, but it's okay. I think having a colored crest is better than like nothing. You think this is high tier? Really? Sell me on it. Why is this high tier? I was kind of feeling like this belongs with the Asdarchids, personally. Yeah, the Rebirth roster as it looks in the game is definitely very underwhelming. I completely agree. Like, I'll get the DLC, of course. I always will. But, like, if I was a discerning customer who wasn't just going to buy every DLC, you would really need to sell me on Rebirth with the campaign being good. And, like, a nice Rex variant, maybe. Um, Standout features the kill, and it's very noticeably different between the two sexes. I mean, I get it, but, like, it is really just the color palette, which is not a bad way to do it. All right, I'm willing to bump him up a tier for you. Okay, we'll put him next to Geostormbergia. I'm okay with that. I don't have an issue with that. All right, then we have the hybrids, and we're not going to bother ranking those. They can all just stay down here in like non-gender tier. Let's zoom this up a little bit here. All right, boom. There's the final list in completion. Hot Dad tier, Guanlong, Loki, Ornithomimus, Psittacosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Maiasaurus, Styracosaurus, Oshiraptor, Conchovenator, Edmontosaurus, Irritator, Oviraptor, Protoceratops, Utahraptor, and Kahuajara. This is about what I would have expected going into this. For like the top tier males, maybe Kai wouldn't have really stood out to me because the animal offends me in general. Maybe that would have been a reason why I would have like expected it to be lower. And then maybe like a Monosaurus wasn't what I was really thinking about, but like if I would have took a moment to look at it, obviously it would have been up here too. Homer Simpson tier being with like Udi on top, Acro. This is where it starts to be animals that weren't really on like my radar for having particularly good males, but like taking the time to look at them, I'm like, yeah, that I get it. I see this has something that sets it apart. And then things like Herrera, where I'm like really like the male, but because the female was so bad, and it's like it's still not like an amazing design for the male, but it's just like a nice glow up. So those also kind of fall in here. This is a tier list like maybe I wouldn't have predicted who was in here very well if you just asked me flat, but like I don't think anybody really shocked me. And yeah, definitely the standout thing is the fact that every tier is like bigger than the last, right? Hot Dad and Homer Simpson tier are like the same, and then you get to like shared custody, and it's like one animal higher. Then birthday's one higher, and then we get to like left to go get cigarettes, and like it's horrible. There's an entire extra row of animals in here almost, and a disappointing amount of franchise animals. Like this is a recurring problem with the series, where they do a lot of the classic animals real dirty, the film animals. Like started with like Dominion and JWE2, they started doing a lot more film skins and a lot more film variants, and that helped to make those animals more accurate to their on-screen appearances. But then they never went back and fixed things like the Pachycephalosaurus, which just doesn't have a film skin. You can't make the film Pachycephalosaurus. And to me, that's crazy that's been left out and is still just gone. Like, I think this is like pretty bad. I think it's pretty damning that so many of these animals are this low for what is kind of like, as far as animal modeling goes, like a secondary but still core selling point. This is rather unfortunate. And like all the lagoon animals just kind of having phoned in males is not good either. Like, pretty rough. Anyway, this is almost a 3-hour video, so I think we should stop it. I should think we should end it here. And yeah, sound off in the comments if you think any of these are like egregiously misplaced, and how you kind of feel about this in general. Yeah.